and circled, he looked down and saw there was nothing. Nothing at all. Swooping down from the sky, Bundle blew air from his beak and created Mother Earth. He then created all living things, trees, mountains and animals, including Mindy the snake, Innalinda the echidna, and Wang the crow.
Did they make any other birds?
Bunjil made a dazzling rainbow here, and shattered into many pieces. Each piece from the rainbow
Yeah.
own colours, and turned into a beautiful bird. As they were created, the birds, each with their own spirit, sang with joy as they flew down to the earth.
What?
The Australian skies are home to over 700 bird species, from the harsh heat of the desert to the woodlands country, from the snow-covered mountains to tropical rainforests. Each and every bird has a unique place in the environment. Dazzling and amazing, the key to their survival is their ability to adapt to change. Parrots rule the skies by their sheer numbers, while birds of prey rule as the most skilled predatory hunters, who both demonstrate spectacular adaptations. What can we learn from the spirits of the sky that have long inspired our imagination and wonder?
For over 40,000 years, many plants, animals and people have shared this land, but only a few are capable of flight. Today, you'll witness the extraordinary adaptations of both parrots and birds of prey and discover some of the changes to make in your life.
To play a part in helping all living things not just survive, but thrive. Hi, my name's Jason.
G'day, I'm James. Just flying around our arena at the moment is Jasper, and Jasper is a whistling kite. Now, kites like Jasper here are a type of bird of prey, and if you're wondering what is a bird of prey, to put it really simply, they're pretty aerobatic, aren't they? They are birds that catch other animals. So penguins and pelicans and magpies and ravens and kookaburras are all birds of prey. They all use their beaks to catch their food. But just flying around behind me is a very specialised type of bird of prey called a raptor, or a raptorial bird of prey. And raptors like Jasper here have some very special features to make their lives a bit easier. The main feature of these birds, probably what we're all scared of, are his feet. These birds have very powerful feet and big claws on the ends of their toes, which are called talons. Now the other feature of these birds is actually their beaks. Once they've caught and killed their prey, they'll use their beaks to rip it into chunks, then they're going to swallow those chunks. Now if we're watching Jasper here, you can see he's beautiful to watch today. It's obviously a little bit breezy, so you're going to see Jasper just working into the wind a little bit. Keep your eyes on him because these birds are great hunters and they go looking for food from up in the air. So as you can see, they can take prey from out of the air, things like other birds and insects, but they also go looking for lots of food they find on the ground. So things like little mammals or reptiles that might be scurrying around, and these birds are fantastic generalist hunters. Now, if you're watching Jasper really carefully here, of course he's going to use his feet to catch his food. Try and spot what happens to it after he's caught it. Probably around the side of the look. Of course he's a raptor, so he sees that prey with his feet, and he's popped into his beak as he's flying around. That's called feeding on the wing. It's a very energy efficient behaviour that lots of birds have come up with. And so it just helps these birds to save time and energy. Now as well as hunting all the animals I've mentioned, here we go into the wind, Jasper. As well as hunting all the animals I've mentioned, good catch. These birds also go looking for for fish as well. So they will go looking for fish they find just under the surface of the water. Got a little pond here in the arena. We'll see if we can put Jasper to the test. These birds will actually look to just take fish from just under the surface. Ready, Jasper? It's going to be very tricky on the breeze. Oh, it's going to sink, mate. Better hurry up. Good work, just like that. He's doing well. This is not the easiest conditions for him out here today, but he's making it look really, really easy. Now these birds, as well as being fantastic hunters, are also great scavengers and thieves as well. So they will go looking for meat scraps wherever they can find them. So these birds actually really like living around people because we leave meat scraps around all the time. Places like fishing ports, abattoirs, rubbish dump, camping grounds are all places you can find not just 1 or 2 whistling kites, but 100 or 200 whistling kites if there is lots of meat there. So these birds are doing really well in the wild, which is a great thing. You are going to meet lots of birds in our show, but it's not the case. With some of the birds we are going to meet, they're facing some big challenges in the wild. So whistling kites are going really, really well. He's not worried about that at all. Now what I'm going to do is give Jasper one more catch. What you can do for me if he catches this one, give him a great big round of applause. Okay?
Yeah.
Great start to the show. Here we go, Jasper. You ready? Make it a hard one up nice and high. Good catch.
Oh, sure, man.
Now Australia is known by many people as the land of the parrots, and it's very easy to see why. We're really lucky in this country to have 56 beautiful parrot species that all live here in Australia. Now, of course, we have cockatoos and corellas, we've got lorikeets and rosellas, and even budgerigars. They're all in the parrot family. We'd like you to meet a very large and charismatic cockatoo, and his name is Quasi. Now, Quasi, as he joins us out here, you can see big, beautiful bird. He's got this beautiful yellow crest you can see there, and maybe you'll see some nice yellow patches under his wings as well. This is a soft-crested cockatoo, and maybe give Quasi a little round of applause as well. Let's give him a Crested cockatoos have also learned to live alongside people really well. So these days we can find these very intelligent and popular cockatoos through much of the Australian bush, but we also find them in parks and gardens and golf courses, and sometimes even in our busy city streets as well. Now a large cockatoo species like the sulphur-crested cockatoo can also live for a really long time. It's quite possible for some of these birds to live to be older than some of us. They can live anywhere up to 100 years. I'm not part of your diet, Bobby. So these birds can live for a really long time. Now imagine some of the changes that a bird like that might have seen in its environment in the last 100 years. Imagine some of the changes they might see in the next 100 years. But now try and imagine Australia without them.
One of the reasons why the sulphur-crested cockatoos have done so well in a changing environment is their ability to adapt and to feed on a wide diversity of foods. Fruits, nuts, seeds, blossoms, insects, they'll eat just about anything. Now we all love a success story, and it's great that some birds have done so well in a changing environment, but there are others out there that are facing real challenges, and they do need a helping hand from you. Many of our bird species need really large territory to survive. This is one of those. This is the Major Mitchell cockatoo. Her name is Miff. Have a look at that beautiful crest, and you can see she's an absolutely stunning looking bird. Now, Major Mitchell cockatoos really need large territories, but more importantly, they need old growth trees in those territories, because they nest in the hollows of those old trees. And for a hollow to be big enough for something like a Major Mitchell's cockatoo to nest in, it can take 200 years to form. And while deforestation continues to occur and old growth forests are lost, so too is the habitat of beautiful birds like Major Mitchell cockatoos. But there is hope, and you can all make a really big difference. It's about changing habits. Now we know changing habits can be hard, but it can also be really well worth the effort. We think Major Mitchell cockatoos are certainly well worth the effort. The next bird we're going to have a look at is also well worth the effort. The next bird we're going to have a look at is one of our nocturnal birds of prey. Now they're thought to have some of the best nocturnal vision of the whole animal kingdom, but they can also see during the daytime, when you might be lucky enough to see them perched in a tree, waiting patiently for night to fall.
Now perched and ready to search, I have with me here one of the 8 owl species we have here in Australia. 4 of the owls in this country belong to what's called the hawk owl family. That's things like our powerful owls and our barking owls. They do have very hawk-like features. But this one belongs to the masked owl family. This is a barn owl, and this bird's name is Sky. Of course, you can see with Sky, she's got amazing eyes. And these birds, we probably all know about owls, they see really well in low light. Okay, so they do have incredible eyesight. What you may not know about owls, though, oh, you can land there if you like. What you may not know about owls is that they don't see in colour. So Sky is actually out here seeing you, me, and everything else in black and white. Now, some people think, oh, poor old Sky, poor old owls, to not see in colour must be a real disadvantage. That's no disadvantage at all. Now, these birds have actually given up their colour vision in exchange for being able to see so well in low light. So Sky is seeing everything out here in black and white, but she's still seeing about 35 times better than any of us. So they do have amazing eyesight, and to go with that, they also have incredible hearing as well. Now, of course, Sky has an ear on each side of her head, but one of the ears on an owl is actually set a little bit higher up on their head than the other one. So it means they hear left and right, but it also means they hear up and down at the same time. It's what we call lopsided or offset ears. Now, if it was so dark that Sky couldn't see her prey, she'd be able to find her prey if it made noise. So if you're a little mouse and you make noise, then Sky can find you, even if she couldn't see you. So again, a really handy adaptation. Another great adaptation of these birds, you can see Sky showing off here at the moment, is her ability to turn her head round. These birds can turn their heads in an arc for around about 270 degrees, which is a very long way round. What that allows these birds to do is to flick their heads around, locate their prey, then they're going to fly down and grab it. Now, what you might want to try and do while Sky's flying around is she flies over your head, see if you can hear her beating her wings. I'll tell you now, you won't hear much at all. Now, these birds have some very special feathers. The edges of an owl's flying feathers actually have frayed edges. That muffles the sounds of your wings beating. So their prey doesn't hear them coming, and that helps their hearing. Sound of their own wings whistling beaks. So these birds do have some amazing adaptations. And I mentioned our barking owls before. Barking owls in Australia, or in Victoria anyway, are not going very well. In fact, we only have about 50 or 60 pairs of barking owls left in Victoria. Now, barn owls like Sky here is a very different story. These birds are going really well here in Australia and in other parts of the world as well. And one pair of barn owls can catch and kill anywhere up to 2,000 mice every year. So just having one pair of these beautiful birds around can do a great job in keeping the rodent numbers down in an area. I'd say some of our other owl species, like our barking owl, are facing some really big challenges in the wild and do need a helping hand.
Barn owls like Sky, they are one of the birds that have adapted really well to nest and shelter in man-made structures, things like barns, sheds and houses. But the barking owls that James mentioned a little bit earlier, they're ones that, again, rely on tree hollows for their nesting. So just like the Major Mitchell cockatoo we saw a little bit earlier, perhaps there's one thing that you can do that'll help those birds and the next pair of beautiful birds we're going to have a look at. Now, the next pair of birds we're going to have a look at are endangered in the wild. Their habitat, unfortunately, is becoming just as scarce as they are. We're going to look at a beautiful pair of red-tailed black cockatoos. We're going to start off looking at the male. His name is Pinjari. Watch him when he comes out. You'll see he has these jet black body feathers, but have a look at his tail when he lands. Look at that. You can see that stunning red bar in the tail there. So the jet black body feathers and the red bar in the tail are the things that help to tell us that he is the male red-tailed black cockatoo. And although he's a really stunning looking bird, they actually have quite a harsh shrieking call. This actually allows them to communicate over really long distances to their partners. They could be communicating with things like danger or possibly of where food is available. Now they do pair and bond for life. This here is Pinjari's partner. This is Karak, the female red-tailed black cockatoo. Have a look at Pinjari's tail again as he lands. You notice that solid red bar there. And while Karak's out here today, you'll notice she does look a little bit different to Pinjari. Instead of having those jet black body feathers, she has a lot of yellow spots on her face and on her shoulders. But when she flies, you'll see that she has not just a solid red bar in her tail, but she also has a little bit of yellow and orange and black bands through that tail. Over this way. You lost me for a second, didn't you, girl? All right. So as you can see, when she does fly, you'll see those different colours in the tail. And that's probably the best way to tell the difference between the girls and the boys when it comes to these red-tailed black cockatoos. Now, red-tailed black cockatoos can be found in all mainland states in Australia, but their success varies. Through Central Australia and Northern Australia, red-tailed black cockatoos are actually doing reasonably well out there. And you can see good numbers of them through those areas there. Unfortunately, in southeastern Australia, particularly in Victoria, these birds aren't doing very well at all. There's only about an isolated population of about 1,000 birds left here in Victoria. And 1,000 birds isn't very many to keep a population alive at all. Now, one of the reasons why they're not doing so well here in southeastern Australia is because down here, they're what we call a specialist feeder. They only feed in about 3 or 4 different species of trees. And 2 of the most important tree species, that was pretty close. 2 of the most important tree species they have in their environment are the river red gums, which they actually use to nest in those hollows. Again, using hollows just like the other birds we've spoken about. The other tree that I feed a lot is the boy tree. And unfortunately, there are a couple of tree species that we have. It makes it very difficult for these birds to survive. Now, if you watch the way Karak flies today, you'll notice that she actually has quite a slow, strong flying style. The first few wing beats are quite fast, and then it really slows down. It's a really slow, strong flying style. It's actually a really energy-efficient way of flying, and it allows red-tailed black cockatoos to fly over long distances through some pretty hot, dry environments in the search of their food and their nesting trees. Now, some of you might be a little bit more familiar with the black cockatoos that can be found really commonly here at the moment. The yellow-tailed black cockatoos, they're doing really well out there in the wild. And the local wandering people or the local indigenous people of the land, they tell us when the yellow-tails fly over, it means the rains are coming.
Now, look, we think Karak and Pinjari are such beautiful birds, they could easily win a beauty contest. Now, our next bird maybe won't win in a beauty contest. You can be the judge. We think our next bird, though, will crack you up. You're actually about to meet Australia's 3rd largest raptor. Now, for its size, it's not a particularly powerful predator, but this bird went very fast at moderate heights. And they're looking for things like other birds, small mammals and reptiles as well. So they have quite a varied diet. This bird is a standout raptor adapter, but its name is a real mouthful. It's called a black-breasted buzzard. So it's a bit of a tongue twister. Just to make it interesting, we've named this black-breasted buzzard Beatrice the black-breasted buzzard. As you can tell, there are lots of bees in there. As you can see, she's a big bird. These birds can glide and soar around, of course, but they're very comfortable here on the ground as well, because as well as hunting the animals I've just mentioned, they also look for a lot of their food on the ground as well. So things like dead and dying animals they like to look for. They also go looking for the nests of other birds. Of course, typically birds will nest up in trees, but in Australia we do have a few birds that nest on the ground. Things like swans, brolgas, bustards, all lay their eggs on the ground. If you're a black-breasted buzzard, you can find one of those nests. That's great. You can find a really easy feed. Eggs and chicks are very easy things to eat. Now, some of you might know that Australia's largest bird is also a ground nester. Can anyone tell me, maybe, what is Australia's largest bird? You can yell at it. An emu, that's right. So emu is a very big bird. Not surprisingly, they lay very big eggs as well. I'm going to show you what an emu egg looks like. They look a lot like this one. Wow. This is made out of plaster, but as you can see, they're big eggs. This was a real emu egg. It would weigh about 700 grams. So there'd be enough food inside here to keep her going for 3 or 4 days. So it's a great food source. The hard part, though, is getting through the very thick shell that an emu egg has. Now, Beatrice here is pretty keen to get into this egg, but she does need a little bit of help. Now, her beak and her feet are not going to do the job. She actually needs to find a different way to get into this egg. I'm going to give her a bit of help. I'm going to give her a tool. Now, you're going to see a bird using a tool. This tool is called a rock.
Wow.
As you can see, she's going to use that rock to smash her way. She's going to use it like a hammer. Now, some people think this is a clever trick we've taught our buzzards. Oh, that wasn't such a good one. It's actually not a trick at all.
Great.
Okay, so that's not a trick, okay? You don't need to teach these birds how to do that. That's what we call an instinctive behaviour. So that's just something that buzzards know how to do. From the time they hatch out of their own egg, they know if you give me a big rock and a big egg, I'm going to put the two together to get inside that food source. Now, what you've seen is pretty cool because there are only 2 birds in the whole world that use that technique to get into a food source. Now, obviously, you've seen one of them in action, the black-breasted buzzard here in Australia, using it to get into emu eggs. The other bird that uses that technique comes from Africa. And it's called the Egyptian vulture and uses that same technique to get into ostrich eggs. So I think you'll agree there are 2 pretty clever birds in the world, but I might just give this one a great big round of applause. I think Beatrice has done a great job.
That birds have played parrots have made some amazing adaptations over time, or in response to the changes in their environment. But what can we learn from our amazing feathered friends? So I'm hoping Callista, our other sulphur-crested cockatoo, has got the answer for you. Now, sulphur-crested cockatoos are always on the lookout for things that help them to survive out there in the wild. They've long been known to send a sentinel out from the flock to warn of danger. And in Australian slang, a person on lookout can sometimes be called a cockatoo. Now, Callista has definitely been on the lookout for you and has got the answer of what you can do to help out many of our bird species. So concentrate on Callista for a second. Really important message for you. Here we go. Oh! One more, Callista. There we go. Big round of applause. Well done. Now, you might be wondering what for wildlife actually means. Well, we know that trees mean habitat for birds. And unfortunately here in Australia we flush 6.7 million trees every single year down our toilets. Now it's not worth arguing about. Those trees are far better off in the ground than down your toilet. So we're hoping you can make a simple habit for habitat change and switch to using 100% recycled toilet paper. You'll be keeping all those trees in the ground and helping these beautiful birds. Now, wiping for wildlife is one simple thing that you can do that'll help Zoos Victoria fight extinction. Another really easy thing for people to do to help Zoos Victoria fight extinction is become a Zoos Victoria member. Now, the more members we have, the easier the fight is going to be.
Now, you may not realise it, but right now, you're actually all in the territory of the master adapter, and indeed the true ruler of the Australian skies. Now, this next bird can be found right across Australia, from mountain slopes to treeless plains, and on nice blue sunny days, you can see these birds gliding and soaring at great heights as they ride on thermal currents with a wingspan of about 2.5 metres. Now, that is a very big wingspan because you are about to meet Australia's largest raptor. As well as having this big wingspan, they also have a very distinctive wedge or diamond shape in their tail. I think I've just given it away. I think you're about to...
Oh, yeah.
Whoa! This is Magra, a female wedge-tailed eagle. And see Magra joints out here. This is a very large and dark bird. And these birds, when they're young, are much lighter in colour. Right, Magra? Good stuff. So she's quite a dark bird. These birds, as they age, they get darker and darker each year. So when they're young, they're a nice light brown colour across their head and their shoulders. You can see that Magra is reasonably dark. She's about a 16-year-old eagle. Now, for a wedge-tailed eagle, that's still quite young. These birds can live to be 40 or more in the wild, and even up to 50 in captivity. So she is quite a young bird, but she is fully grown. Alright, as Magra's flying around out here, of course, you can see some of the features of a wedge-tailed eagle. They have these really big, powerful shoulders, Of course, there's that huge curved neck-tearing beak. But really with an eagle, oh well, come on, Magro, it's all about their feet. So being Australia's largest raptor, they do have very big, powerful feet. And of course, those huge claws on their toes, big talons. That's what they're going to use to catch and kill their prey. Now these birds typically are looking for small mammals.
Oh, yeah.
They will go looking for much larger prey as well. Things like wallabies or small kangaroos. They're quite glad she knows where she's going. Now, as well as eating mammals, these birds also look for reptiles and other birds as well. Things up to birds sort of bigger than a cockatoo, 500 grams or larger. They do eat a lot of reptiles. Now, these birds and the black-breasted buzzards do a great job in cleaning up a lot of the dead animals or carrion that are left lying around. Now, just watch Magro here. She lands, and you'll see she fans out that tail. You get a really good look at that very distinctive wedge or diamond shape in their tail. It is the most distinctive feature. You just see Magro looking around out here. She's got amazing eyesight. We've probably all heard the saying, eagle eyes. These birds can spot something the size of a rabbit. If it's moving, she can spot that from over a kilometre away. And she can also spot other eagles, wild eagles. You'd be able to see those from over 3 kilometres away. So they do have amazing eyesight. Now they are territorial birds. Magro is looking around just to make sure there are no other eagles in her territory. We do have a wild pair of eagles that live pretty close by the sanctuary. So we do see them here occasionally. You actually might get to see these wild eagles while you're here today. If you do see wild eagles gliding and soaring around, you'll notice that one of the birds is quite a bit bigger than the other one. Like most of the daytime raptors, it's actually the girls who are bigger than the boys, and they're bigger by about a third, so it's quite a size difference. Fair enough. And so Magro, I mentioned, is a female Wichita eagle, so you are looking at a pretty big bird at the moment. And it's usually around the hours of sunrise and sunset that these birds really look to defend their turf. What they'll look to do is just what Magro's doing at the moment. They'll find a big dead tree that they've got a good view of their territory, and they'll sit up in it to make sure nobody's sneaking in. Or they'll fly very high and fast along the boundaries of their territory, and making sure that no other eagles are coming into their territory and eating any food that they think belongs to them, and any chicks that they might be looking to raise. And the great command of flight, these birds do glide and soar on broad, upswept and outstretched wings. Their sheer size and power, I'm sure you'll agree, is a pretty impressive sight. Good work, Magro. Now these birds are a protected species in Australia these days, which is a great thing. It doesn't mean we have a large and widespread population of these beautiful birds on all the states of mainland Australia, and they are recovering in Tasmania as well. Magro's doing a fantastic job. So it is a bit gusty out here today. When you're a big bird in a small space, it does make it pretty challenging, but she's doing really, really well. Okay, we've got a camera getting ready. We can see if we can get a couple of last lights out of Magro. She's doing really, really well. Good stuff. All right. What I'm going to get you to do in just a second, hold on, Max, is give Magro a great big round of applause. She's done a great job. Now, a lot of people do come here and they see the Spirits of the Sky show at Hills of Sanctuary, and they see Magro and think, well, she's top of the food chain, she must rule the sky, therefore she must rule the show as well. We actually have a bit of a surprise for you today. We have another bird who thinks he rules the show anyway. He thinks he's the star, and you're about to meet him. Now, this bird, his name is Kevin, and Kevin is a long-billed corella. Okay, now, long-billed corellas are very clever birds. They're also known as master mimics, so they're very good at copying sounds that they hear. That's a very useful natural behaviour. In fact, lots of birds use mimicry to help them find a mate, and also to help them determine where their territory started and finished as well. So Kevin, so he's a long-billed corella. He's a small white bird. If you see him flying in from over here, give him a great big round of applause. He does like a bit of crowd participation. Well done. So it's a long-billed corella. You can see the top part of his beak is very long. That's a very useful tool for these birds. In the wild, they do a lot of digging. They find a lot of their food under the ground, so things like roots and grubs and tubers. Okay, do you want to say hi? Yes, of course. Kevin's been out the back watching the show. What do you think, mate? Good show, going well? Oh, yeah. Well, nice bit of enthusiasm as well. Now, of course, we're looking at birds in our show. We're talking about the adaptations that birds have developed. There's one adaptation that birds have got which is pretty important. What is it, Kevin? Their wings, that's right. Wings are very important when you're a bird. You don't get very far without those. Now, you may remember right at the start of the show, I mentioned that raptors are the birds that use their feet to catch and kill their prey. You've just seen Australia's largest raptor. They do have some very impressive footwork. And so is Kevin here. In fact, Kevin can show me his right foot and your left. There you go. Maybe a little round of applause for that. I know people who can't look right a little bit challenged. I think Kevin's going pretty well. Now, quick quiz for the crowd. Who can remember how far can an owl turn its head? How many degrees? 270. Well done. They were listening. Kev, how far reckon you see? 360. That's amazing. I don't even think he moved his head there. I think Kevin is a bit cheeky and I think he's trying to make me look silly. Last one, I think. Okay, now some people do come here, they look at the raptors that we fly and they think, well, those birds are pretty scary. Are you scared of raptors, Kevin? No. Is anyone here scared of Kevin? No, really. Kev does have a big beak. I think he's a bit scary. In fact, Kev's as scary as a tiger. Look at that. That's a big roar for a little bird. It was scary, wasn't it? Now, because Kev likes to think he's the star of the show, he does like a bit of special treatment. Do you think maybe you could wave bye-bye to Kev and say, bye, Kev, for me? Can you say bye as well? Nice one.
Yeah, bye.
Thanks, Kevin. We're seeing more and more populations of those birds right across Australia. They're also learning to live alongside people really, really well. Now, what do you think? Have we had enough? You've seen enough birds, or do you maybe want to see one more? Yeah. So you want to see a little bird or a big bird? I'm glad you said a big bird, otherwise it would have been really awkward. You're about to meet one of the most specialised raptors of them all. This bird here, that's just joined us, is specialised to catch fish. This bird in Australia is more typically found around northern islands, waterways and estuaries as well.
Now this bird here is definitely our most well-adapted bird for catching fish. To be successful at catching their fish, they've got some really important adaptations. They're all basically in their feet. Now their talons or their claws on the end of their toes are very long, curved and extremely sharp. They act as individual fish hooks. Now I'm hoping this bird is going to make its way back. All got your fingers crossed, your toes crossed. So I want you to have a look at the next bird. The next bird I didn't even introduce is Alvy, our osprey. Hopefully she's going to make her way back very shortly. We're going to get a chance to see her hopefully catch fish. Here she is. Thanks, Alvy, for turning up again. Thank you. Now, as I said, they've got individual fish hooks on their toes there. They also have very rough patches on the soles of their feet, which we call spicules, and a locking mechanism in their toes, which allows them to grab a hold of their fish and lock on, so the fish can't get away once they've been caught. But probably the most interesting thing is actually how they go about catching their fish. James mentioned a little bit earlier things like the whistling kites, who catch fish occasionally, just skim the surface of the water and take the fish off the surface. Ospreys like Alvy here though, they dive completely under the water to catch their fish. In fact, it's known for them to dive as deep as a metre to catch a fish, which is pretty impressive for a bird of that size. To get down there, grab a fish, get back to the surface and fly away again. So what I'm hoping is we're going to get a chance to see Alvy fish. So keep your eyes on Alvy. And hopefully she gets the idea that we want her to come down and catch this whiting that I've got here for you. You ready? Alright, here we go. Keep your eyes on her. Oh, that wasn't a very good throw. Sorry, Alvy. That was my fault. I threw it right in the wrong spot for her, particularly because of the wind today. So hopefully, with the second fish, we do a little bit better. She is struggling with the wind today, but we'll see how we go. Alvy, over this way. Now, I will explain to you that there is a really good reason why we fly Alvy last in the show. She has a very loose sense of time. She just does things as she pleases. So, I'm hoping, she is really struggling with the wind today. It's really gusty up there for them, which makes it quite difficult in a small arena like this one. So we're just going to wait for Alvy to get into a good spot. You all enjoying the show? Anybody have to go really quickly? Catch a bus or anything? Because I really think, after seeing what I just saw there, I don't think Alvy's going to come back too quickly at all. Some of you might have seen, look like she crashed into a tree out there. Did anybody over here see that? Look like she crashed into a tree over here. What she's actually trying to do, oh, here she comes. She's actually trying to grab a stick. She thinks it's breeding season at the moment. So she's been flying around lately trying to grab sticks and carry sticks, bring sticks back for her nest. So hopefully she forgets about that for a second, and we'll give her one more try to come down and catch this fish. But it doesn't look like she's too keen today. Alvy, just one attempt. All right, I think we might leave it there, James.
I think Alvy's got one thing on her mind, and it's not catching fish. No.
We'll see how she goes. She might get a little bit cleaner a little bit later on, and we'll see how we go. We might try a little bit later.
Now today, our dazzling parrots and our remarkable raptors have united to share with us their ability to adapt to change. Have they inspired you, these spirits of the sky? Excellent. Some of the birds you've seen are doing really well. Some of the species you've seen are facing some really big challenges and do actually need a helping hand from us. Now, protecting trees for habitat will benefit not just these birds, but lots of other